Left the trap, just lost against Dark.
A lot of weight on his shoulders, and going up against HeroMarine is one that he's like, okay, I can carry the Protoss flag. But I like what you said about HeroMarine. Very often in matchups, you want to force it, right? Like if you're a Clem or a Maru. We saw Clem do that to Zoun, where he was trying to force it, but very often in TVP, it's not one that you can force. You have to roll with the flow. Very often you're the one player that's reacting to what your opponent's going to do. And HeroMarine's a very, very intelligent player at coming up with the right moves, the counters, when to stay patient, when to go. A very smart player overall.
One of my favorite things that I've seen of HeroMarine in the last few months is even a build where he opens up with a lot of Marines, tanks, and a medevac on 2 bases, and he will send an empty medevac to the other side of the map, and he will just position it between the natural and the main base. So the Protoss player is worried about whatever is inside of that medevac. Are those Marines? Could there be a couple of Widow Mines inside of it? No, that medevac is just there to keep you at home, and then he can hit you with either a Banshee in the main base a little bit later, or just open the map for those Marines and tanks to make it to the other side of the map safely. Gabe is really good at hitting his timings, and I gotta say, for all the love that I gave his early game and his mid game, I actually think HeroMarine has a very feisty late game as well. I think he's good in those 4 or 5 base scenarios. He's very comfortable with the Liberators and the Ghost. I don't think he likes playing late game against Protoss, because he's been pretty vocal about a lot of Dark Templars with Shadow Stride, and we saw some of that already of Zoun yesterday against Maru. But I actually think Gabe is better at it than he gives himself credit for.
I think he's not scared of it, which is the best part, right? Like, I've seen a lot of really good Terran players go at Protoss and get really flustered, whereas that doesn't seem like something that HeroMarine does in this matchup. How do you feel about this CC on the high ground, by the way, despite fighting with his probe on the low ground? A little bit of a surprise to me, given that he did go for an SV scout as well.
Yep, very, very safe here by HeroMarine. Maybe a bit worried about some of these 2-gate openings that Zoun has shown us.
That's true.
Throughout this event already. Zoun is no stranger to building a gateway on the other side of the map, but often it's a bit later, just for quicker reinforcements or some Zealot warp-ins or Stalker warp-ins, of course, if he's aggressive with the Blinky boys. But maybe HeroMarine is like, just in case, I don't want to start this best of 5 off on the wrong foot and immediately have to deal with an adapt in my natural way quicker than it's supposed to be, and then I can't even finish up my command center. I think this is one of these rather safe than sorry moments, and sure, I'll fall a little bit behind economically, but I just want to make sure that I can actually get into my flow in game 1.
I think you're very right there. It's like when some Zergs open up pool first against Terran. Just anything to make sure they don't die to the very obvious that could happen to them. But here, Gabe running around the shade with this Widow Mine. This is already a little bit cheeky and could be kind of cool, but so far both openings very standard. Zoun going for Blink Stalkers here with a Robo. Very, very safe play by him. Gabe, on the other hand, looks like he will be opting for something most likely like a Widow Mine drop here.
HeroMarine is, of course, a grinder. We all know how often he plays in the Monday night tournament, and he even joked with us yesterday. He's like, oh, if I do make it to the semis, maybe we can postpone Spodek till Monday. I was like, well, Gabe, you have a big personality, but I think that's going to be a little bit difficult. But where do I want to go with this? HeroMarine does, of course, just feel pretty good across the board. I wanted to say something, but I completely forgot about it because I was thinking of the things that he said yesterday. Oh yes, Gabe is also a player that really does his homework. And Zoun has played quite a few PvTs throughout this tournament, so I'm sure that HeroMarine is already thinking about a lot of these things. We saw Maru struggle with finding some of these offensive gateways on the other side of the map. I'm sure that Gabe has studied, and it's in the back of his mind.
This is already perfect for Gabe, by the way. Seeing that pylon, seeing the probe as well, but he wasn't actually scouted. The medevac obviously having a little bit of extra vision range here, which we're being shown by our observer. So gets to see that 3rd base going down as well. And this medevac sneaked across the map, and nothing to greet it thus far besides probes.
Yeah, it's important that Zoun is paying attention. I thought he saw this. The probe pool is a little bit late, but I gotta say that was pretty well handled. But it's still kind of painful when you don't get a single shot on the Widow Mines, on the medevac. That kind of means that your Stalkers need to do something on the other side of the map. But HeroMarine is bulletproof so far with the tank. He's got a Raven as a follow-up as well, just in case it's quick Dark Templars. We saw this from Maru too. And of course, that's going to help him as well to potentially reveal some of these observers.
I love the tank positioning as well. Just keeping both his bases safe, going for the switches on the add-ons here. 2 tanks is pretty damn safe. Going to want to switch into Widow Mines eventually, but so far, it's definitely good for him. We do see a Robo Bay on the way for Zoun, which I think is a smart move as well, but the Raven's already out. That is something that can definitely shut down that Colossus if he does make one.
Yep, build order-wise, I am loving this for our German Terran player. I'm sure that this is something he feels very familiar with. We all know that there is a lot of Protoss players on the European server. Medevac flies in again. Both Widow Mines get out. Both Widow Mines will fire. First one connects with a Stalker. Second one goes for the burrow on burrow. Now he can do some of the retargeting. Unfortunately, does not want to pull that one off, so Zoun can continue mining. But look at the work account. It's 46 SCVs against 49 probes. The Nexus was a little bit late, and I don't hate the fact that Zoun is opening up with a Disruptor here. Colossus is more solid, stable, but I think Zoun realizes, like, actually this is not going that great for me. Pretty much every single thing that I've tried so far has not gone in my way, and if I just go Colossus, and I know my opponent has a Raven, one Interference Matrix, and my army is useless, with a Purification Nova, you can potentially just chip away the Marine count and actually just take the game from there.
You can always hope and pray with a Disruptor, and getting another one out straight away. Also, the extra investment of that Thermal Lance, it's not being done, right? So he's putting it into more units, which I think he's absolutely going to need against this push that it's almost inevitable at this point. It's not going to be a super hardcore one. We do see the third one, or third base on the way, but it's going to be a push that you absolutely have to respect, because 2 tanks mixed with this amount of bio, that's scary.
Yep, Stim and Combat Shield are finishing up, +1 is close to finishing up as well. HeroMarine does, of course, need to be very, very wary of the fact that there is always a chance the Protoss player does not just go for the super default Colossus, but they actually switch it up, and they'll go for a Disruptor, and we've also seen Zoun open up with very quick High Templars early on. I think Zoun was hoping for that ground move out, so he was able to land that big Nova. That Observer is going to give the heads up that this is where the army is. HeroMarine sees the first Nova coming, and the first Nova is good. And now these tanks are very exposed, actually. So he's going to just siege them up defensively. But we do still have that double drop heading towards the main base. And I don't think Zoun is aware of that at all. He's terribly out of position to deal with this.
Yeah, I love what HeroMarine was doing, man. He was using that Raven to find out where the Observer was. Constantly poking, just making sure he knew what Zoun was seeing. So you're almost using the Observer against him. Now getting a move out here and dropping into the main.
There is recall available, but his army is actually not that great to recall immediately. Another Nova does go off in the center of the map, and it's going to soften up the tanks. So Zoun gets a big victory in the center of the map, but HeroMarine is having the time of his life in the main base of Zoun, and most of the time this does not go too hot for the Protoss. So we will still recall, but he lost the Nexus, so the recall gets cancelled. +1 is not finishing up either on the Forge. This is all heavily going in favor of the German.
Yeah, despite those big Disruptor hits on those tanks and taking out all those pretty valuable units in the middle, I'd much rather have my main still alive, and this is shutting down all the production as well. If HeroMarine can keep this tempo going, he's going to have a massive army marching out across the map. 6
gateways unpowered, one of them very low on HP, will live as the Stalkers push away these 2 medevacs, but this is obviously going to give HeroMarine a lot of time. That's a little bit sloppy that command center is not an orbital yet, because I feel like that finished up a while ago.
I'll forgive him for all the damage was done, but you're totally right. And Zoun, he's like, you know what? Let's double Nexus here. I'm going to start my Colossus production, because that's about the only building that wasn't unpowered in that mess. And HeroMarine is just going to continue doing the harass. Got a drop on the south, a drop on the west as well. And Zoun, it's going to be tough to get back into this one, but not all hope is lost. He is still a damn good Protoss player.
A great call by HeroMarine to go for that double drop, because more often than not he actually goes for the single drop in these scenarios, and he focuses a little bit more on the ground push. But for whatever reason, Gabe decided to switch it up and he went for the double drop. And it's safe to say that it was a big success. We do have the Templar Archives, and there may not be Storm, but Archons can come in very handy. And as long as you've got those Disruptors out, and now the first Colossus are on the battlefield, there is still some hope for Zoun, but it's not looking all that hot. Ooh, he sent those probes back very quickly. I love how HeroMarine is doing this as well. 2 Widow Mines in the third, 2 Widow Mines in the natural. Zoun is at least making sure that we don't have any very big drops, and that's an amazing shutdown, as these 2 medevacs do get picked off. HeroMarine perhaps getting a little bit too carried away there. Needs to... I actually think that HeroMarine could have focused a bit more on the ground army rather than still trying to find fights and damage at 3 or 4 different locations at once.
No, that drop being shut down definitely halts this tempo play. But look at that, 13 probes fell somewhere on the map, so those Widow Mines came in handy again at the third base by the looks of it. This is not looking that healthy for our Protoss player.
Yep, perhaps Zoun thought that it kind of was going to finish up in time and that was just going to take care of the mines, but I don't think the armory was done, so these Widow Mines are not permanently cloaked. Oh, we do have an armory, so yeah, maybe he lost vision of them and he thought they were gone, but they weren't actually gone, and the cannon finished up just a little bit late. So HeroMarine finding more economic damage off screen, and now slowing the game down a little bit, because I do think it's important not to get too carried away if you can find success in the straight-up fight, then believe in that, right? Like, sure, there are some disruptors out on the field, but we know that HeroMarine has a very good micro, and he should be able to keep track of where those disruptors are at. HeroMarine is going to send in these two medevacs once more, and even though they're super low on HP, one of them does make it into the third, and this obviously allows the rest of his army to just get on top of these Nexus, and the High Templars just standing there. 4 High Templars going down. Game 1 is seemingly going all HeroMarine.
It is, but disruptor shots have been good so far. Nice snipe on the first disruptor there, and that is a huge concave on both sides. The tanks are taking out the Colossus. There are Archons tanking up all these bio shots, and Zoun will be able to push him back, but it cost him quite a lot to do so. 4 High Templar, a couple of disruptors, and the Colossus as well, and we can't forget the Nexus.
Oh, imagine if he was just able to land a couple of feedbacks or steal more of those High Templars into Archons, because in the end, Zoun actually did quite decent there. One of these rare scenarios where I think Archons are very good, because there are no Ghosts out yet, and there is also not an overwhelming amount of bio that they just pop immediately.
Zoun's doing good with this Stalker Micro here, even gets a tank. You saw HeroMarine trying to pick it up last second. Oh, disruptor through the smoke, and okay, only one Marauder fell there, but the other disruptor so exposed there at the front. But great force field here, managing to pick off quite a few extra bio units there, did Zoun.
Yeah, and Zoun did manage to get it all the way up to +2 attack, so he's still hanging in there, and he's got a 5-worker lead. Unfortunately for Zoun, these Zealots show up while there are a lot of bio units waiting for it, so HeroMarine gets another little W on the board. And I am very impressed by what Zoun is showing us here, because this is not a beautiful game by him. A lot of things went wrong in the early game, and especially that initial double drop, that should be game-ending damage, but he is still making HeroMarine work for it.
Absolutely. Some of the shutdowns that he's done of the drops have been really good, by the way, not taking too much damage. This is also fairly decent, as long as he doesn't lose too much, which maybe he is doing. He's still down 30 supply, but he has got decent upgrades, 2 disruptors at a time, taking a 5th base as well. Feels he just wants to expand, wants to get himself out of this bad situation.
And Thermal Lens is done, so Colossus can actually become pretty important too. Another forward blink, immediately goes for the medevacs, gets the first one, second one very low on HP, goes down to that final shot of the Stalker, but at the same time Gabe has a few bio units in the bottom right side. This is a very high-paced game and a lovely way to kick off this best of 5.
Certainly is. Nice disruptor snipe and pick up there by Gabe. He's playing really good. And a slow warp in. Those Stalkers will not last long at all. And how many probes have died this game so far? I don't even know. 41 and only 1 SCV. I'm surprised down still. A nice disruptor snipes. Holy crap, that was right before the Novas went off there. Holy crap, big Gabe.
Yep, and the shield battery gets picked up as well, so no battery overcharge to help out. The Archons are still very tanky, but it's pretty much just the Archons. At the same time, few bio units still having a field day in the main base. HeroMarine is still maintaining a 40-50 army supply advantage. There is no observer here to take care of all these Widow Mines, so those could potentially fire again as Gabe picks up a few bio units, unloads on the low ground. A beautiful game by HeroMarine. I think the kind of game that just gives you wings, and these mines will fire again. A very low HP Colossus almost goes down. We're gonna have a recall on the observer, I assume. Gabe probably gonna EMP and scan or kill it. Yep, there you go. Scans immediately. Could take care of it, and he does.
And that's a lot of Widow Mines. This Nexus, it's not long for this world, is it? And I mean, okay, nice baiting there with one of the Zealots, but the Nexus still falls. And now Gabe's army is just bigger and better. He's getting Ghost in the mix too, but he can't get too carried away. I look at all of this, 23 probes extra have fallen. Wow, Gabe expanding really far forward. I kind of like it though.
Gabe actually going up to 4 bases by taking this base. Not the first time we've seen that all tournament long on Hardwire. Bit surprised by it, because I feel like in all the online tournaments we did not see it. You can take care of those Widow Mines with just the disruptors, but it seems that Zoun has other priorities, perhaps is worried about another drop on the left side, because that's one of the biggest problems as well, because he's been under so much pressure. He doesn't have a lot of map vision, and playing a PvT, if you don't know where those medevacs are coming from, just becomes a nightmare.
The resilience that some of these players have shown when it comes to just not dying whatsoever has been amazing. Like the fact that Zoun is still more than in this. Like, if you told me that 50-ish probes had died this game and like just 1 SCV, I wouldn't have believed you.
And you lost your main base. At 1.6 gateways were unpowered, +1 did not finish up. Yeah, no, the fact that Zoun still has a little chance in this game is pretty remarkable. Another Widow Mine drop though. Quick pull again on the workers, so we shouldn't lose too many. Hopefully this doesn't send them all back without actually keeping track of it.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I like the split of these Widow Mines as well, but greeted by a handful of Stalkers, which I don't know if there was enough to quite kill that Widow Mine. Looks like it was with the Pro Pull, but yeah, great game to start off this series.
HeroMarine is working on +3 attack and +2 armor is on the way. Cannons have some DPS, and that should barely be enough, yeah, especially with the probes helping out. Ooh, Archon's going on a little adventure, a bit too far ahead of the rest of the party. One of them gets picked off.
And that's quite a decent pick-off. Can't afford to lose any extra units here, at least not unnecessarily. 3-2 on the way for HeroMarine. Once those upgrades come up, he's got a 2-upgrade lead on his opponent. He's also on double starport here, going up to 8 barracks as well. He's really starting to tank up here.
But we still have a lot of disruptors, so there is absolutely a chance here. We gave Maru a lot of compliments for how well he played in a game that was unwinnable. This game felt pretty unwinnable to me after the initial double drop. Of course, Zoun got a little victory in the center of the map, but normally Gabe just runs away with games like this. This is a game that's actually still, in a weird way, somewhat even. I prefer HeroMarine's position, especially because of the +3 and the +2 armor that's finishing up. But 8 disruptors, and we don't have tanks, we don't have liberators. Zoun has just done a ridiculous job in hanging in there and still giving himself a good chance.
All of a sudden, there's a lot of hope for Protosses out there, because this Zoun, he's the last Protoss in this tournament. Observers fall along with the Colossus. Big Gabe getting ready for a big surround here. And that army of the Protoss, if it gets collapsed on, it isn't the kind of army that wants to fight multiple flanks.
Few Zealots trying to get on top of these Marines and the Ghost. Yeah, HeroMarine was clearly looking for that flank, but Zoun was aware of it and he got himself out of it. Very nice situation. Disruptors are kind of exposed here. You need to be so careful, but instead he lands a decent Nova, sends another good zoning Nova towards the top side. Man, what a game by Zoun. Because I feel like he has no business making this a game, but he's here on the other side of the map, and he is 1 or 2 good Novas away from potentially still winning game 1.
Certainly is. Gabe feeling the pressure here, even lifting up the orbital command. Zoun sending out zoning disruptor shots here, and some big juicy shots do land. The supply still ridiculously close, but the disruptor Novas, they're running thin now. Another massive shot, another one. Oh my goodness, I don't know how Zoun's doing this. He's actually ahead 30 supply now, pushing Gabe to the limit. And that is not a good vibe for the rest of this series here, given how far ahead he was in this game.
Yeah, a ridiculous performance here by our Korean Protoss. He did such a good job there in sending out the zoning Novas. Gabe getting a little overeager. He's like, you must run out of shots eventually. Well, he didn't run out of shots. HeroMarine chasing a little bit too far. And in a game where so many things went wrong for Zoun, he still takes the 1-0 lead. You can see him have a little sigh of relief there too. It's like, phew, I had to work for it, but wow, I'm stunned, man. I'm absolutely stunned. That was some great Protoss play by our Korean Protoss.
That was really good, man. Like, super impressive. I mean, even try to recall to the main. I think that puts your recall on cooldown as well. Then trying to get back home. He did eventually, but yeah, that does not taste good if you are HeroMarine, because for all intents and purposes, that game was his. I mean, like, maybe he got a little bit carried away when it had a drop behind the main. He had a drop coming in from the right side as well with the Winter Mines. But then Zoun had the Stalkers in the main base in position there. I think that was the real swinger, because if that gets in, those 3 drops, Zoun's probably just tap it out right there.
And sometimes simple is perfect. Perhaps HeroMarine should have just grabbed all of his forces and make a big ground attack. And I think he had the firepower to just end it. Also, imagine if he would have picked off that forge, because he did unpower it when there were 9 seconds left on +1. But he didn't kill it, so Zoun was very quick to repower it. He got his upgrade and never stopped upgrading, because he actually had +3 attack before HeroMarine did. A little bit later, I felt maybe there was an opportunity to surround that Protoss army, land a couple of big EMPs, but Zoun seemed to be very aware of where the forces of HeroMarine were.
Both these players had a night to think about what they were going to do against one another, and they both had their fair share of PvTs and TvPs. HeroMarine, I think he went 2 on his group, only losing to Trap, but that's quite a lot of studying that Zoun could have done. Anyhow, we're going to get into it. 2K Atmosphere, spawning over in the bottom left as our Red Terran. It is HeroMarine.
In the top right side of 2K Atmosphere, we are looking at the main base of the last Protoss in this tournament. Representing Team Alpha X, this is Zoun.
Really cool play that he's displayed so far this tournament. He has his own swing on Protoss. Very often we thought there was kind of 2 ways to go about it. The Zest approach, very clinical, clean. Then the crazy Protosses, such as the Pardings and SOSs of the world, I suppose. But Zoun, he's got that mix in between almost, which makes him a very difficult opponent to go up against.
Now, for all the HeroMarine fans out there, I don't think there is anything to truly worry about. I've spoken with Gabe in the past about like, wow, I'm so impressed that you brought that back 0-2, especially after you were ahead in one of the games. And Gabe can be very simple about those things. He's like, oh, I don't really give up ever, so it doesn't really bother me. And he's mentally quite strong, perhaps not as strong as Rainer, as it truly seems that nothing faces that kid. But HeroMarine is not somebody who's going to panic after losing the first game in a best of 5. He can just shrug it off and still focus on whatever plan he has for the remaining maps.
Absolutely, and we were speaking to Big Gabe a little bit last night. It's like, oh yeah, I put my mind on a holiday, so I'll wake up fresh and very good, and then I'll sleep very good. And he's actually looking very comfortable over there in that booth as well. Like, he doesn't seem phased by losing on Hardwire. It is a tricky map. It's a very long map, and maybe of the maps in the pool, that is the one that's like, you know what, that is a little bit tricky, because obviously you only get one veto these days in the best of 5 stage.
Yep, HeroMarine did not want to talk about his games too much yesterday. He said like, it was a stressful day, I'm just happy with the way it went, and I'm just gonna have a good time tonight, relax a little bit, and the moment I wake up, that's when I'll be focused. That's when I'll start studying, that's when I will get ready, and obviously I'm gonna make a plan on what time I want to wake up, what time I want to arrive at the venue, but right now I don't want to think about anything strategy related, because otherwise I'm gonna dream about it and I won't be able to fall asleep. So he's like, yeah, tomorrow's a new day. And I'm sure that he's done his prep this morning. I think he arrived at the venue around 10 a.m. or so he's been here for a little while, played plenty of games. And perhaps the same went for Zoun, but like I said earlier, these are the best of 5s that I love, because I'm sure that Gabe is confident, but I'm sure that Zoun is confident too. And how can you not be? The man beat Maru yesterday.
That's the thing, right? He went up against 2 very different Terrans yesterday, Clem and Maru. Did fall to Clem, but they have very different styles when it comes to TVP. This 3cc build, by the way, for HeroMarine here, so it was Reaper into Reactor straight away, which is a pretty funny way of going about it, but he did also SV Scout. And for Zoun, going into Phoenix, I think that's one of the maybe best things that HeroMarine can play against.
I think you're right, and especially if Zoun is not going to reveal his Phoenixes, right? It's very important for HeroMarine that he does not let the Adept Shade enter the main base, so he's on the money so far with raising those depots over and over again. Zoun would love to hide the fact that he's playing Phoenix, because if HeroMarine then commits to a Widowmine drop, and he flies a medevac to the other side of the map, and the Phoenixes just pick it up immediately, well, that is a almost game-ending advantage.
Oh.
Zoun is going to recall the Adepts. I think he wants to hide the fact that he's playing Phoenix. And that's actually something that is going to work in HeroMarine's favor, which sounds silly. But for Gabe, it's almost better if this Reaper doesn't see the Phoenix.
Almost, yeah, but there is a Phoenix flying across the map, right, which I think did reveal itself. It also got shot, which is a big deal. Then you know it's not a hallucination, given it you don't deal the double damage. But right now, both of them know exactly what they're both up against, and immediately switching into the Oracle after making the Phoenix, I mean, it's a tough choice, right? Because if you stay with the Phoenix, then you're in a bit of a pickle, but if you just leave the one Phoenix, then he's one lone fly boy that can't do that much.
That's a pretty unique call. You don't see this very often in high-level PvTs. Zoun is immediately going into Oracle after the scouting Phoenix, realizes that this is going to be a game where my opponent is going to have access to a lot of Marines early on with quite a bit of firepower, as Stim and Combat Shield, even if you play triple CC, are going to be relatively quick. This is not a Phoenix game. So he's like, you know what, I'll just make an Oracle instead. Also dropped his own Nexus immediately. I have to say though, as a Protoss, I still think there is a dicey moment. The first time that HeroMarine is going to move out, there is way more potential in the Terran army than there is in the Protoss army. But these world-class Protoss players are often very good with getting a battery in the right place, having a sentry nearby for a force field or a Guardian shield. As this Oracle actually flies into the main base, HeroMarine probably very surprised about the fact there is an Oracle, and I can't blame him, because who in his right mind goes Phoenix into Oracle?
And that's what we're talking about, right? Zoun's a little bit crazy, has his own swing on things entirely, but Zoun has to be worried about this and immediately making an Immortal, which will be good against the Marauders, but everything else, it's going to be tough for him to hold. He needs like sentries and stuff just to buy time.
He needs a battery there, but he actually lost one of the probes that I think was normally supposed to build a battery. We've got 2 batteries going down. Is one of them going down near the 3rd base? Because without that, oh yes it is. It's not completely done yet though. Gabe can be a very decisive player. If these Marines stim on top of that little gateway army and the Immortal isn't there yet, the battery isn't done, Zoun is in a world of trouble. This is really close. I think HeroMarine is going to send it.
I think so. I think it's the right call as well. He snipes down the sentry with Guardian Shield. Yes, he does. does. The Oracle falls down as well. Lots of units falling. That battery is done, but he quickly snipes it down. The units falling one by one. If he gets the Immortal, then it's not a bad trade, but honestly, quite well handled by Zoun, because that could have been a lot worse for him.
It could have been a lot worse, but I still think HeroMarine is pretty happy with how this goes, because with this build, he's always going to have a lot of Marines. These are units he can easily replace. I could even find maybe a little bit of extra damage. There is a shield battery, but that battery cannot heal up forever. No, this was going to be it. So can we take a look at the units lost exactly? 23 Marines going down for a Phoenix, an Oracle, a Sentry, a Stalker, 2 Adepts and an Immortal. Very well done by Zoun, because there are moments where a game can just end there.
I'll be honest, I think sniping, because he went for the Oracle first, right? Or rather the Sentry, then Oracle, then the Phoenix. Yeah. I think ignoring the Phoenix entirely would have probably been a better call. Like just saying he could have maybe sniped off an extra couple of Stalkers, which that Phoenix was almost kind of redundant supply.
Yes.
This is me being very nitpicky, you know, no, yeah. Just given that it had nothing to shoot at.
Definitely don't think you're wrong. On the other hand, it is nice for a Protoss to still have a single Phoenix, because that's something you can put on patrol underneath your main base. And now that isn't there anymore, so that does kind of open the door for drops down the line, because we don't have Blink yet either, I believe. The Twilight Council finished up not too long ago, so he's actually going charge first. I don't hate it. It's an expensive unit, and it takes away some scouting and some map vision. I think both players handled it well there. I thought HeroMarine was decisive, on the money, quick, knew what he wanted, and Zoun made sure that he didn't straight up lose the game.
No, you might be absolutely right. And this drop, if he was going for that, and it's like, yeah, he left it open with the Phoenix not being able to be here, and immediately comes in, starts dealing some damage, forces a recall and a battery overcharge. But nice move by HeroMarine. He's so good at this, by the way, getting medevacs into the main base and stuff. He does this in a lot of his TVPs.
And because of the way that Zoun opened with the Stargate, and now he's also going to Twilight, a lot of gateways, we of course don't have a lot of observers, because he was forced to make that Immortal. And now we even have a Void Ray on the way, and to me that's a little bit like a Desperation Void Ray, where he just wants to make sure that he's got a little bit of air DPS, so these medevacs can just hover around his main base forever. And if he didn't lose that Phoenix earlier, he probably wouldn't be making this Void Ray in the first place.
I think Gabe doesn't realize that Blink isn't even remotely like coming online, right? Because there, I felt that Colossus was kind of exposed. If you saw a player like Clem or Maru, maybe they'd have pounced on it with that amount of Marauders, but you've obviously got to be careful. You're one map down here, and a lot is counted on this best of 5.
I love how we're like 20 minutes in, and now suddenly I'm thinking of everything they were talking about on the desk. This is a banger so far. This is a barn burner. It's been a very close and competitive series. HeroMarine pedal to the metal one more time. Another overcharge has been activated immediately. These little sentries dropping some force fields from downtown, but nice pickup on a couple of these buy units that were shaved off. And it's very important that battery is there, because if it wasn't, this Colossus would be in serious trouble.
I think, though, the battery overcharge is maybe a bit too soon, because it's the real fight that's happening. And oh my goodness, that is a lot of bio. Only 2 Colossus pretty much remain here. Even the Marauders getting on them. And wow, all of the Protoss army just falls just like that in GG. HeroMarine tying up the series.
Gabe, so decisive, just knows what he wants. He's always got the good setups. And indeed, that battery overcharge was very early. I don't think it was even necessary, because there wasn't that much DPS on the Colossus. But I don't think that's where it went wrong. Zoun looked at that army and he thought the initial units that he saw, that was everything. But there was way more behind it. And once he got in range of those tanks, he just stuck around a little bit too long. A beautiful game 2 by HeroMarine, who really is playing a mighty fine best of 5 so far, because even in that first game, he was obviously holding his own, and he probably should have won it. It's an awesome series. I love it.
When it comes to TVP rating, HeroMarine is 3rd best in the world, and probably only trailing behind the likes of maybe a Maru and Clem. And we have to remember, Zoun did beat Maru in that previous match there in his group stage. So HeroMarine going toe-to-toe with the likes of somebody that can beat Maru in this matchup. That's a massive deal.
Yep. Gabe, we saw his signature series earlier. Of course, big shout out to Shopify for making those beautiful videos. And Gabe was talking about how he kind of turned pro and streamer at the same time. Of course, he already had a high level when he started streaming. But once he streams, yeah, he likes to play ladder. If you play a lot of high-level ladder on the European server, you're going to meet a lot of Protoss players. So this man plays against Protoss over and over again. And then on top of that, some of his favorite tournaments also have a lot of Protoss players in it. So almost on a weekly basis, HeroMarine will play a competitive best of 5 against the likes of Showtime and MaxPax. And Zoun is incredibly good, but playing against those guys absolutely gets you ready for him.
Absolutely does. Curious Minds, 3rd map of the series. Spawning on the top left-hand side, representing Mouse, it is HeroMarine.
In the bottom right side of Curious Minds, we are looking at the main base of our blue Protoss player representing Alpha X. This is Zoun.
Very cool play from both of them so far. Nothing truly standard out of either one of them. HeroMarine opting for that 3cc build in the second game, which I thought was actually a very good mix-up, and obviously a build order clash, right? Zoun went for the Phoenix, got the Scout off pretty quickly, which was a silver lining in the situation for him, because if he did keep those Phoenix at home, he had been in a world of trouble. Went for the Oracle, got some damage done with it, and kind of made a little bit of a game out of it, but yeah, just a very good build order choice by HeroMarine.
And earlier in the first game of this series, both Ben and I were freaking out at the same time when we said slow warp-ins. I know, of course, at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice, we have a lot of people tuning in that don't watch StarCraft 2 all the time. Slow warp-ins used to not be a thing, but in this day and age, you basically need to make sure that your pylons are connected to either a warp gate or a nexus. In that moment, you'll get the quick warp-ins, as we like to call them, or basically default. But if you just have a pylon in the middle of nowhere and then you warp in units, so it's not powering a gateway or a nexus, then you get the slow warp-ins, and the difference is a solid 7 or 8 seconds, which is a lifetime at this level, because HeroMarine will see that immediately as well and realize that he was able to kill those 3 stalkers for free.
This really shows that HeroMarine's done his homework against Zoun, though. Like, going for the CC on the high ground every time hasn't paid off just yet, I would say. Although in that second game, he did go for a CC on the low ground, right?
Yes.
It feels like a lifetime ago that we just casted it, but yeah, I do like that kind of play. Just being patient, like being confident as well, as long as he makes it to a latter stage of the game. Because yeah, Zoun is one of those guys that still throws out that gateway at home and then a proxy gateway on the map, and it's very tricky to hold if you don't know it's coming.
The timing, by the way, of that first Adept dancing with the Reaper and the SCV finishing up that CC on the low ground last game was really close. It was basically 1 second as well, or that Adept would have been able to get a few extra shots off, and then you get in that awkward moment where do you send over another SCV, and then sometimes when you do, the next Adept shows up, and that can already completely ruin your game. Some people would even leave, but I don't think the game would ever do that.
No, I don't think so. Not in this kind of situation. We even talked to him about that Beyond Mara situation. Like, yeah, no, I wouldn't leave kind of thing. But yeah, so here we have the reactor opening for HeroMarine after getting 1 Marine out. It's a very, very safe standard opening. It's good against the possibility of Void Ray all-ins as well, which we haven't seen much this tournament, which thank goodness. But yeah, very standard follow-up for him. Although it is a tech lab on the factory instead of just getting some Widow Mines out. So I'm a little bit curious. Oh, a tank immediately. Again, mixing it up a little bit.
I cannot help but to talk about this right now. Since you're talking about Void Ray all-ins, Benjamin, I had a little sit-down with Skillis, and he told me that you unfollowed him on Twitter after he made some Void Rays against you.
To be fair, it was 3 games in a row, Kevin. It was horrible. It was horrible.
He was laughing about it.
It was shameless, Kevin. Absolutely shameless. But you know, I'm just a Terran out there, you know, doing my best in the world to try and rid the world of these dirty Void Ray all-ins. Anyhow.
Didn't think that you take a couple Void Rays and batteries that personal, man.
Mate, I'm bold from playing Protoss for all these years, you know. That was just the icing on... Oh, that was the tip, the icing on the cake, the straw that broke the camel's back. Either way, Kevin, fancy bringing that up in the bloody round of 12, eh?
There is that empty medevac that we did mention earlier in this best of 5. I love it. Gabe is smart. If Zoun sees this, he's going to assume that there are Widow Mines, that there are Marines inside of it. So he's going to keep his units at home. While actually at home, HeroMarine is already building tanks and Marines. And Zest also said in one of our video pieces that he hates Curious Minds. He just feels it's very difficult to play. This is some really cool stuff coming out of HeroMarine. And Zoun, there is a chance he knows about this, but it's so hard. Who's going to make that call? Like, yeah, it's probably empty. You move your stalkers to the other side of the map, suddenly you lose half a mineral line. You don't want to find yourself in that position. Cool strategies coming out of HeroMarine here.
Also, this is going to be a lot of firepower at this front door. You might be wondering, like, why the Vikings? If these Vikings land, they deal 20 damage per hit to stalkers and mechanical units, such as most Protoss units besides Zealots.
Does Zoun know?
I don't think he knows about the push. I don't think he has any clue whatsoever. There's going to be 2 tanks, a bunch of Marines arriving on his doorstep, and then this medevac can actually fly over and start healing this army. This is really cool by HeroMarine.
Yep, this is working out in a brilliant manner for the German, and Zoun is going to receive the bad news right now. That medevac is obviously going to sync up with the rest of the army, so we can start healing the Marines. We do use battery overcharge immediately, and battery overcharge is absolutely fantastic. Gabe should have brought over that medevac just a little bit quicker, but we can't run away from that battery, and battery overcharge does not last forever. One of the gateways goes down, battery overcharge has expired, and this is where these tanks are truly going to hit like a truck. Zoun is in trouble. He wants to get an Immortal out, but he's going to lose power to the robotics facility.
Oh my goodness, he's got pylon behind and a battery coming up, but this is now 3 tanks in his face. Going to lose the cybernetics core as well. That means no more Stalkers, and if Gabe kills this Robo, no Immortal either. I think Gabe's doing it here, Kev, and he's doing it really damn well.
StarCraft 2 is a game of execution at the highest level, and sure, there was high execution here, but this is a strategic victory by HeroMarine. He knows how Protoss players think, he knows how they react to certain things that they scout, and he gave Zoun the completely wrong idea with that empty medevac. He has done it before. I brought it up, and I honestly did not know he was going to do it.
Wow.
But Gabe just takes the 2-1 lead here in the round of 12, and that really was all strategy, all his big brain.
It really was. We talked about his intelligence going into this matchup. He's maybe played more TVP than anybody on the planet with the amount that he ladders on that European server. I see a little cheeky smile on his face, and he's like, oh yeah, my massive brain and massive personality coming in handy over here. And wow, 2-1 up here. This would be absolutely amazing if he can make it in top 8, because the winner goes on to play Solar. And honestly, that's not undoable for HeroMarine, but I'm going to take it easy because one step at a time. He hasn't done it just yet.
Nope, he definitely hasn't done it yet. And if Zoun can win that first game, imagine what he can do in a game where he actually is off to a flying start. Because so far in all 3 games, Zoun hasn't really had a moment where he's like, yeah, I like where this is going. Game 3 ended before he even realized what was happening. Game 2, he goes up against a build that's not very good on paper since he opened up with the Stargate and the Phoenix. And in Game 1, he was in a world of trouble. So let's not count Zoun out, because there's also a chance that Zoun finally picks off a medevac in the center of the map, takes 0 economic damage, creates a 15-worker lead for himself, and perhaps just runs away with it.
That was super good by Gabe, because if you go up against Blink Stalker, like going for those tanks, it is kind of a blind counter by him, but just he made all the right calls. And one thing that he did was really smart as well. He didn't let Zoun know what was happening in the base of him. Like, yeah, there was a continuous shade scanning, but you saw him. He kind of pushed it away continuously, stopping the scanning go on. He had no idea about the tanks, and he arrived at his front door without him knowing. Yeah, just really good puppet master play by Gabe.
So what happened to the Adept? Did he just brought it home?
Well, he was kind of like fighting with the 5 Marines in the middle of the map, and then, yeah, I think he just sent it home.
Imagine if he would just kept it in the center and at least send out a shade or 2. Because I think the moment he sees a few SCVs coming, he sees the tank coming, he's like, all right, I won't care about that medevac anymore. No, I do want to bring my Stalkers, because if Zoun had his Stalkers on the other side of the map all along, he picks up 5 or 6 Marines before the push arrives, and he probably wipes the floor with it. But he's going to have to put it in the past. Let's go ahead and hop into Game 4. In the bottom right side, we're looking at the main base of the German legend. 1 map away from making it into the quarterfinals. Representing Mouse Sports, this is HeroMarine.
And spawning over the bottom left-hand side, life on the line now. Last Protoss of the tournament, it is Zoun.
I do hope for Zoun that he gets off to a good start here, because I feel like he kind of deserves that. So far in all 3 games, first few minutes just not going his way. Build order-wise, it hasn't gone his way. And Gabe does have something in store once more, because this is not completely standard. First barracks is being built outside of the main base, and double gas going down in the main.
It's absolutely evident that he came into this series very prepared, because he has done a different build every game now, which these are the kind of builds that can really throw you off as well. When you've had the 3cc build, like very, very economic and good against these Stargate plays, into this kind of thing, yeah, HeroMarine's a player that can do it all seemingly, and that's a very different HeroMarine that we were used to seeing maybe over a year ago. Like, he's absolutely divvied it up.
Yep, he really believes that this is very important in a best of 5 as well, especially when you play against Protoss. You don't want to become too predictable. And of course you can always just play your Reaper fast, expand, followed up with a factory, and win on execution. But HeroMarine believes that this is a better way to approach a series. So far it is working out for him, because this really could have been 3-0 already.
So what is Zoun doing in that top left spot on the map? Because this could be a situation where he goes for like a Twilight Council or something, right? And then he just goes for some crazy build. But he's truly respecting this, and yeah, it will be a Twilight Council as a response. So far, I'm not sure where he's going to go with this, unless it's just going to be super damn crazy, Kev.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a Dark Shrine, of course, but he's sending the proper way, so it seems like we're just going to open up with Blink. Maybe Zoun is worried about some crazy one base all-in, and he feels that it's easier for him to stay on one base himself and just defend with one base Blink Stalkers, as Gabe is gonna open up with a Cyclone here, I assume. Anything else? This is very weird, by the way, because like they're both still on one base. 2.5 minutes in, HeroMarine is gonna drop the CC in his main base. The SCV is awfully close to finding the Twilight Council, but he's not able to truly find it.
If HeroMarine goes into tanks right here, right now, and starts making Marines, he's in a phenomenal position. He does go for the Cyclone just to be safe, because he has no idea what he's up against just yet. Oh, did he see those gateways?
I don't think he did. I don't think the Reaper went deep enough.
Oh, if he saw those gateways, then he'd have a big idea that it's going to be some kind of Blink Stalker all-in. But it's still not over by any means yet. But this is going to get real hot very, very soon.
Now, seeing 2 Stalkers and 1 base is a bit of a tell. The SCV has been scouting around too. He knows that it wasn't the quickest gold. Zoun is probably going to take the gold behind this based on that pylon, and that makes sense. So he's going to get very quick blink, as Zoun, his probe, does see that factory and the Cyclone on the other side of the map. So this is actually kind of cool, because Zoun can of course just continue building probes as well in his main. The moment that the gold finishes up, you can recall those probes immediately, saturate the gold, and you're still off to a very good economic start, despite the fact that your Nexus is late, but now you also have very quick blink to go with it.
This could be a really big scout here, because there's 2 very valuable spots to find out about, and oh my goodness, that is so close to seeing that Twilight Council. He will see the Nexus though, and he sees the timing on it as well. And oh, for a second there I was like, oh my god, is that some sixth sense kind of stuff there? But he wants to check out everything that's going on, maybe see the natural, but yeah, he knows what's up and what he's against, at least to some degree here, but he still has to be super careful.
Needs to listen to a little more Beyonce. To the left, that's all that Reaper really needs to do. But I think that Gabe now already knows. He's like, alright, I saw 2 Stalkers, I see your Nexus, I see the timing. I'm sure you've got a Twilight somewhere. I haven't found it, but I also think he's a bit worried about DTs, and I can't blame him, and that's why we see the Raven once more. It's not that Ravens are bad in normal games, but if you don't worry about DTs at all, and you can skip the Raven, I think you prefer it.
Oh, cheeky little shot there on the Stalker. He's going to reveal his blink here. He has to.
Oh, the Reaper can actually get a kill on the very low HP Stalker too. Can Gabe get the double kill here? No, he cannot. Single kill. That Stalker survives with 3 hit points.
Not a bad trade though. A Reaper for a Stalker, and he had to reveal blink there. That's a big deal. Now Gabe's going to be like, oh, I don't have to worry about like blink or rather DTs and what have you. But he knows that something's coming, and he's going to be getting out any unit he can. But we're looking at it. It doesn't look like anything is going to be coming. Zoun's very happy with his position here, being, well, when I say very happy, that's a bit of a fib from me, but having a gold base going, at least you know something's on your side.
Yeah, now defending the gold can get very tricky though. If these units make it to the center of the map, HeroMarine obviously doesn't have to go all the way towards the left. Nice pick up on the Cyclone, but at the same time another Stalker does fall. We've got a Templar Archives finishing up, but I think all that HeroMarine wants to do is just siege up on the right side, or at least in range of that Nexus, and then it's all good. Zoun does fire up charge now. HeroMarine is losing a lot of his Marines, so he needs to be very careful. That Raven is a bit exposed, but we're not going for the Raven, we're going for one of the tanks. He doesn't get the tank, but it's not like HeroMarine can just repair it immediately. Can the tanks fire at these probes immediately? I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, he's going to go for that battery though, just to make sure that these Stalkers can't repair any more than they did already. These Stalkers, they will want to get a fight, maybe a jump on it, and that is a big deal. I think he kind of waited for the first volley of the tanks as well, so he cleans up all 3 tanks there and keeps a good portion of his Stalkers alive. That's actually really good for Zoun.
No high ground vision there though for Zoun, so he needs to be careful because a lot of these Stalkers are still low on HP. It is good, but he's down 9 workers. Having the gold is great and all, but being down 9 workers and having only 7 Stalkers, not a single observer out on the map, I think he needs more. He needs better fights than what he's currently getting.
Yeah, the big saving grace for him is the fact that he's going to have some charge lots on the map pretty soon, but everything just says HeroMarine is ahead. Wow, that's a really ballsy set of gateways there. He's really going to go for a big all-in, I feel, because, yeah, even though we shut down that push, which he had to, otherwise he'd have been dead, he's still looking grim in this game.
Yep, and it seems like indeed he just wants to end it. War Prism on the way, Zealots. I don't think we're even going to build a lot of additional probes. That man just wants to win the game with a couple of Stalkers and a couple of Zealots. This is a very, very ballsy call with your tournament live on the line. Right when I say that, he fires up the Storm, but this is not a game that should go on forever, because if he loses power to those 3 gateways on the other side of the map, that is catastrophic to his production.
Oh, look at that scan by Gabe on the Templar Archives as soon as it started practically, and sees the Warp Prism pop out as well.
That's crazy though.
It's super crazy. I mean, so many things about this game right now are crazy. This is not a normal situation. You see blue blobs here, there, and everywhere. And he's going to see these gateways as well. I love the fact they didn't show his Raven. And that, 3 gateways there and a pylon, that's going to be probably HeroMarine's next location to stop, because depowering 3 gateways, that's huge.
Yep, and he did throw down the scan, of course, and he's like, you're going Storm. It's like, well, it's one or the other. Either you're all-inning me and I really have to turtle, or you're going up to Storm, and that means that maybe I can move out and I can temporarily unpower. I do think this is very risky what HeroMarine's doing right now. He's got a lot of his supply on the top side of the map, and now he's sending a double drop to the main base, but since he's going to unpower these 3 gateways, he may get away with it, but I think this is an insane call. Then again, he's got 69 army supply against 35. Whatever Zoun had in mind is not working out yet, and Zoun really needs to find a victory in the next 30 seconds or his tournament life ends here.
He's only on 2 Nexus, remember. These are some nice storms so far, clearing up this army, but this isn't even Gabe's full army. Look at this, recalls to the main. I'm not even sure if there's enough energy there to recall, and this drop is doing a lot of damage. Okay, just got enough energy, but Widowmines are in the main base, going to connect with quite a few Stalkers and the Zealots as well. A little bit of a drive-by, does take out the medevac with more units, but Gabe is coming online here. +1 on the way as well for him. Still a bigger army, but Zoun, that actually went okay for him in yet again. It could have went a lot worse.
Yeah, it went okay for him, but I'm still not in love with where the game is going for him overall. There is no Forge, he's down 6 workers, but he does have Storm. Apparently lost one of the 3 gateways, is going to repower the other one that's not currently powered. HeroMarine knows that this is just the Wild Wild West at this point. You know, even Gabe, for all the TVPs he played, I wonder if he has played really too many that look like this. Zoun knows about this medevac. He has blinked a couple of Stalkers across the debris. What a sick pickoff by Zoun. Man, how often do you see that? Stalkers fighting a medevac there with the rock still up. Amazing play by Zoun.
It really was. I also love the fact that he wasn't sat at the edge waiting, right? He went to the middle of the platform so he could blink on whatever was flying over, not giving the Terran time and giving his Stalkers extra shots. And this is a little puny army here out on the map for HeroMarine. Will take out the gateway and get out of there. One Marauder left behind. Oh!
What's happening at the gold? Just a single Marine. Zoun is in a very awkward spot though, and don't forget he's got no recall. He already used recall, so he may actually just go for it here. War Prism flies in, can't lose the War Prism. There are quite a few Widowmines though, and Widowmines and Bonkers will make it really hard for this army of Zoun. This was a bad attack, and don't forget about the medevacs that are still out and about on the map. Whatever Zoun thought he saw there wasn't there.
No, it certainly wasn't. Now all these Stalkers even more bruised and battered. HeroMarine having his moment here to move out onto the map, producing 4 Marauders at a time. He is on 5 barracks against all of this, running through the fire, running through the storms here. His army is badly wounded, but that gold base has got to be mining out soon, right? Or at least not long left on it.
I mean, Gabus is loving life. He's got Widowmines to deal with the Zealots. He's got +1 on his infantry units. These Protoss units have no armor. One storm comes in from the high ground. Second one lands on some of the units on the right. Zoun needs to hang in there for his tournament life. And the Archon's actually soaking up a lot of shots. 2 out of 3 do fall though. And all that's left is a couple of Stalkers, as we do have a few more Zealots show up. But I'm afraid it's just not enough. Unless we can land 1 or 2 more storms, it still feels that this game is going in favor of HeroMarines, but the fact that Zoun hang in there, very impressive.
I'm really impressed by all of Zoun's trading here. Can we have a look at the resources lost tab in this game? Oh, fairly close. Actually, HeroMarine losing more, but I guess he slowed down the income rate of his opponent quite a bit this game, but that is a lot of units that have died in an 11-minute game.
Yep, HeroMarine losing around 1,400 resources more, but HeroMarine has just been mining more. Like having the gold, ooh, Widowmine apparently connecting with a War Prism. War Prism did live, but now you have to be very careful in future battles. You can't send that too far forward. Gabe just wants to stim and he wants to snipe that Prism, but Zoun is here with his entire army to protect it. The thing is, it's lovely to have a gold, but this is not Pride of Altaris. This gold does not have 8 mineral patches, it has only 6. So sure, you get more for less workers, but it's not like you mine a whole lot more than a standard fully saturated base with 8 mineral patches.
Yeah, it's just Gabe's also starting to mine out here. I wouldn't be surprised if he... Well, he's going to start floating over that main at some point, right? Maybe just mules it up and then he can float it over and just take a 3rd base kind of thing with it, but it's getting close here. Zoun has secured his natural now, which he's mining off freely. The probe count's still very close, but...
It's the ghost count. I know there's a few out there on the map. Yeah, 4. I mean, if the Archons disappear, the rest of the army is not very impressive. The doors are wide open here as HeroMarine gets on top of the last few probes that are left at the gold. Good job there by Zoun, at least saving the majority of them. But this Nexus is beyond saving. It is going to go down, and I don't think Zoun is even going to rebuild it anymore because there aren't too many minerals left. Zoun knows that he cannot lose another fight. The game wasn't even looking all that bad with Storm now and all these units, but he needs to be careful. He needs to land 1 or 2 good Storms, or just make sure that the Zealots don't all run into the Widow Mines.
Oh, I like this by HeroMarine, floating over his main
War
base.
Prism.
Oh, some juicy, juicy Storms, but if he doesn't capitalize on this, then they're just all going to regenerate. And look at that, Field of Widow Mines, you don't get past that. I love the fact that you use those as a shield for him.
But the double Robo is up. If Zoun is able to get, let's say, 2 Disruptors or 2 Colossus out, I actually think he's got a good chance, because this army is very low on HP. Zealots are not going to get the job done. A Storm might, and that's another decent Storm that actually kills 2 Marauders. There are the 2 Disruptors on the way. Zoun can still do this. He just needs to hang in there a bit longer. I don't even hate the idea of a couple of force fields. We've got battery overcharge, and EMP does go down. If the Disruptors get out, I still believe that Zoun can do it.
It's so hard though, Kev. It's so hard. Remember, these are ghosts in the fray, meaning, oh, that's a big, big Storm on a lot of bio, Medivacs. And Zoun, he's running down the ramp. He feels this is his moment. And the Disruptor shot is pretty decent as well. A huge splash of red Terran blood here. He's still fighting another Disruptor shot. This one, not as juicy. He does take out a ghost, but he's got no battery left whatsoever. HeroMarine smells blood. Oh, he takes out the War Prism. Oh my goodness! HeroMarine moves on to the